I appreciate everybody joining. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. So what we're going to go over today are some new features that we rolled out. Thank you, Rhonda. That's some new features that we rolled out that for me, I feel like it's the closing of the circle for a sales process. One of the things that I always have felt like we started this program 15 years ago. So about 15 years ago, if I were making this presentation, I would have really been talking to you about the proposal itself. Like that was the only thing that I had to offer. Okay. So over the years, we've implemented the service program, so you could offer a compressor change out. We've implemented the load calc. So if you want to do a load calc in the house, you could quickly do a load calc and it would spit out a block load. And I suggest you try to get into that area. But today I'm going to go over the few features that we're implementing over the next, yesterday and then like the next week. And I'll talk about some other things as well. We have a new integration coming up with Field Edge that should be live by the end of April that we'll be looking for some beta testers. Okay. I'm going to talk about our program today, but if you're from the Mingledorff's area, there's a different Mingledorff's product that you log into, but I want you to know that they both are exactly the same. Okay. It is a different program, but it does have a different URL that you log into, but all the changes that I'm talking about, all the implementations of everything is exactly the same.
Dwayne,
all right.
Dwayne, let me interrupt really quick. Hey, if you did not already mute yourself and you're not muted, I am muting you. So if for some reason you need to ask a question or interrupt, you'll need to unmute yourself to ask a question, just so that we don't get any feedback. So just FYI.
We want feedback, just not during the presentation.
So. Yes. Yeah. I don't mean that kind of feedback. I mean, reverberating. So.
Okay. So back, I would say 30 years ago, and it's interesting because right before this call, I was just on a call with a good friend of mine that his name is Mark Hoadley, and he and I worked together in Charleston at this parties. And at that company, we used a product, and it was called the Confidential Questionnaire. And the way that I feel about sales is, it isn't just about going in and providing a quote. Some people call it an estimate. We like to call it a proposal. I don't like to call anything an estimate. I like to call it a proposal because we're proposing a product. If you call it an estimate, there's a thought process in the customer's mind that, hey, this is just an estimate. It actually could change based on the fact that we're coming to do the work. So try to take that word estimate out of your vocabulary. Okay. Some of the things that we've implemented over the years, we have implemented it where there is a cost associated with it for you to be a part of it. Like texting was a cost. And the reason why it was is because it literally is like you buying a cell phone with us, because every text that you send through our program, we get charged for it, right? So if you want to be into texting, you have to, it's a $50 a month ad, and then that covers all your texting, okay? It literally is about a break even for us. And for me, it's about the experience and less about really trying to make money on it, just if we can just cover the cost. Because if we can make it better for you, then I know that the value of our program will be enough that you'll stick with us, okay? Well, these two things I'm going to show today, the service categories and the salesperson questionnaire, these both are going to be, there's no charge for these two. You're going to get these as a part of the program itself. So you'll have access to this in the platform. Okay. All right. So back when I was at parties in Charleston, one of the things that we always talked about was when you go out to a house, you generally have 60 to 90 minutes to make a presentation. to a customer. And that's really what we want. We want 90 minutes, okay? So the first 30 minutes is generally the time that we spend with the customer talking about what their needs are, right? I saw an interview yesterday. I think it was on TikTok, and it was the guy from, can anybody remember the name of the guy from the movie with Leo DiCaprio where he was the Wall Street guy, Wolf of Wall Street? Anyway, that guy was talking about when somebody comes to you and says, sell me this pen, right? You're a salesperson. They say, sell me this pen or sell me this pencil. And then immediately an inexperienced salesperson will start talking about, why you need to buy it and why it's important, what it does, features and benefits. And he says, the reality is, it's timely that I saw this yesterday because it is so true. The reality is, rather than talk about why they should buy it, what you should do is ask them questions about why they would need it. Like, tell me a little bit about what you do in your life, and because that's the same process that we want to do with an air conditioner or a heat pump or a gas furnace. We need to find out why they need what they need before we get to the place of providing them a solution. And in that time that we spend with them, basically what's going to happen is we're going to build rapport with them. We're going to bond with them. And to the degree that we can build time with them, the trust is based on historical promises that have been fulfilled, right? And so the whole keeping of promises actually goes back to the very first moment that the customer calls in to get a price or the technician is out at the house telling them they need something. So the importance of you keeping your promises, like if you say you're going to be there at 10 o'clock, don't come at 10:30. If you say you're going to be there at 10, don't show up at 9:45. People want you to be on time. They don't want you to be early. They don't want you to be late, right? And that is a very simple promise that you can keep, okay? And so all of these promises we're going to keep. Okay. So the first 30 minutes is going to be your discovery of what their needs are, right? So needs analysis. Any salesperson, any experienced salesperson is going to tell you, find out what they need before you offer a solution. And then the second 30 minutes is going to be the walking around the house, the gathering of information, the getting the data that you need to be able to build the proposal. So we're going to want to get the breaker size. We're going to want to count the number of runs in the house. And this is the time for you to be able to look at the lifestyle of the customer. And when you gather all this data, what's happening while we're walking around the house with them? We're having conversation. We're building rapport, right? But what you can't do is when you come into the home and you move to the kitchen table to do your needs analysis, and then you move to the second 30 minutes of this act, if you will, this drama, you can't just let them turn you loose and go walk around the house. You've got to have them walking with you, okay? And we're going to want to collect all that data, and then where are you putting it? So you're putting it on a notepad or something like that, right? And then the last 30 minutes is going to be you doing a load count or creating a proposal or both, and then making your presentation to the customer, okay? So what I'm going to talk about today are all three of them, but I'm going to mainly focus on the first one and the third one, even though I'm going to show all three, okay? All right, any questions before I get started on this? Looks like we got 2 chats here. Any questions before I get started? All right. So you're going to notice now under Create Proposal a new bubble that says Solutions Assessment, okay? When you click on this, what we basically have done is digitize the process for gathering of information for a home, okay? Now, keep in mind, this is phase 1. When we get off this call at 12 o'clock, you're going to get a message in the program that's going to ask for feedback. They're going to ask for how was the meeting. We only take 5-star reviews, so make sure that you give us a good, honest opinion about how the meeting went and the feedback of the product. And then just know that I have more ideas that I'm going to put with this that we couldn't roll out in phase 1. Okay, so this is phase 1. If you want, I can tell you what my phase 2 ideas are. I just don't want you to get confused as to what you think it will do and what it won't do. But I can tell you that I'm focused on this piece right now. And so I'm going to focus on this until I at least get through phase 2 in the next 2 months. Okay. All right. So I'm going to enter in my address. Okay. So I can start typing in 7641 and it's going to pull in my customer. If my customer wasn't in there, I could have clicked add new customer, and that customer facing screen will come up where you can add a customer. Okay. And I'm going to click get started. All right. Now, looks like I've already been to this customer's house. So I've already got some information in here, and it's got the indoor unit brand, the indoor unit model number, the serial number, the rated capacity, the age of the unit, and then the condition of the unit. Okay. So I'm going to capture that. I'm going to click next step. And then here's my outdoor unit. Okay. So it's got my outdoor unit brand, outdoor unit model number, outdoor unit serial number, rated tonnage, age of unit, condition of unit, and then I'm going to click next step. And if you're using an iPad, I don't really know much about other like Android tablets. So maybe they work the same. I'm an iPhone guy, so I'm a Mac. You look at mine, it's a Mac. Okay. If you're using an iPad, down at the bottom in the browser, and you click in the thing to type something in, there literally is going to be a little microphone, and you can take that microphone and start typing or start saying, click on it and start saying the numbers, and those numbers will appear right here. Okay. So let me just real quick, who wants to, so right now, this screen is going to show what you can see right here. Okay. Does anybody, so I want to show you the my phase 2 idea, but I don't want you to think that if I say this, it's going to happen tomorrow. So who wants to hear phase 2? Can you give me a thumbs up or thumbs up? Anybody thumbs down? So we're all agreeing that what I'm getting ready to tell you is not going to be alive like in the next week. Okay. So ESS, we have a program called Lexicon, and that Lexicon is a library of all the brands that we've basically been capturing all the data. So the consumer brochure, the product data sheet, the service area document, the warranty, all that information over the past 15 years in this database, right? And so we have all that information. I always thought that if we ever got to the place where we were capturing an existing unit, that as a salesperson, that might be important to me to have for the next time we go out to change the system, right? Well, what's going to happen in phase 2 is when you start entering in the model number of the equipment, I know that's not a good model number. When you start entering the model number, if it exists in our database, we're going to populate all of the information that we have for that unit on this page. Okay. So if you wanted to go in and see what if maybe they had a 50 amp breaker and they're supposed to have a 30 amp breaker, and whoever put in the last unit just put the wrong one in, then you'll be able to see that here. Okay. Let me ask you on this, and I think that it may be in the survey, but does that seem important? That's something I should focus on. Anybody want to give me turn off your mute and give me some feedback? Ben, Neil, Terry?
They would need to unmute themselves.
Anybody?
Dwayne, whenever it's given the information, it's going to give the dimensions of the unit, the furnace, the coil, and all that as well on the old equipment?
Yes, everything we publish currently on the edit proposal under the model number. So whatever we have, there are some pieces of information that we have that is more than what's on the edit proposal. So my thought process was to just publish everything, and then you'd have whatever you needed to be able to view it here.
Be a nice feature.
Yeah,
Okay,
sounds good to me.
So Rhonda says, very important to have that information. Okay, so that is actually, and Caleb is keeping a running Jira task. All of our tasks for our developer are stored in a program called Jira. And so he is he's actually got that open. It's making any kind of comments you guys are making. He's going to record those here. So would there be anything else that we would need to add to this page?
How about your load calc?
Okay, that's coming right next. You're like actually 3 steps ahead of it. It's coming. And then somebody, let's see. So Rhonda says, will we be able to send you to upload old model and serial numbers? I think we could do that. I just would need to figure out, so Caleb, write that down if you would. Will we be able to send up old model and serial numbers? Okay, so from here, we're going to go to the questionnaire, okay? And this is we used to have this, and actually if you go into the library in the top right where it says welcome your name, and then you click on library, there is an 11 by 17 document. And if you've ever been through my sales class, I talk about this in the class. We used to have this, it was 11 by 17. So when it folded in half, it was 8.5 by 11. And on the front page, it had all of this information, the customer, the indoor unit, outdoor unit. And then on the inside, it started with these questions, okay? And my intention is to put some comments in here for maybe someone that hasn't attended one of my classes as to why they should be asking these questions. But some of these questions are really just intended to be sort of ticklers about how to start a conversation, right? And I'm not going to be able to go through all of the reasons why you want to ask a question. There's a few that I'm going to talk about, but let's start with how long have you lived in this home? And then why is that important? I mean, it might not be important, but it tells me how much history and knowledge they have of the operation of the air conditioner or the furnace. Okay, so I'm going to ask that question: how long have you lived in the house? And look, these aren't required fields, so if you don't put an answer there, it's not going to lock up. Okay, how long do you plan on living in this home? I wouldn't necessarily assume that if someone says I'm only going to live here a couple of years, that they're only going to want a price for the cheapest product that you have. I'm a middle of the road guy. When I sell a house, I usually try to put good stuff in it because I feel like the resale value is raised. I'm never the guy that buys the most expensive, and I'm never the guy that buys the cheapest. I'm always the middle of the road guy. Okay, but I want to ask that question because again, it looks like I'm asking questions, and it is good knowledge. Okay. And what problems have you had in the past with the system? And you could probably make some suggestions here, like, do you have any hot and cold spots? What are some things that you could ask? Hot and cold spots, extensive repairs that you've had to make, not being able to maintain the temperature in the house, and you would just record that here. Okay, but again, this is intended to not be a quick question. This is intended to be an open conversation. You'll notice most of these questions are asked with who, what, when, where, how, or why, and not yes, no. Okay. Next question. Who here in your family suffers from allergies or asthma? We're going to assume somebody does. Instead of asking if they do, we're going to say who does. And then from this, I would say, well, what type of allergy do they have? Okay, because generally IAQ solutions are in one of three areas, right? So there are particulates, VOCs, and bioaerosols. And a particulate solution was going to be a filter or some sort of a, Aprilaire or RG, anything that has the ability to collect particulates. A VOC is going to be something that creates some sort of a radical oxygen molecule, so maybe a PCO air purifier, and then a bioaerosol is going to be like, an example would be mold. Anything that's living, bio means living, and aerosol means airborne. So bioaerosol is anything living and airborne. So dust mites, mold, and then that's going to be a UV light. And so if they tell you somebody, and then they say this is what their allergies are, then you should be able to assign a solution in the upgrades that would help them alleviate their system issue, right? And then when was the last time you bought an HVAC system? Why do we want to know that? How many price increases have you had in the last 2 years? A bunch, right? So if somebody bought an AC system 2 years ago, or maybe 10 years ago, my response to them always, hey man, I'm gonna be honest with you, if they really any time that they said that 15 years ago, I would say, man, you're gonna be shocked at how much they've gone up, right? And then you're gonna begin to have a conversation about the cost of price increases and how, because look, you might as well face it up front. In 2 years, we've had somewhere in the neighborhood of, I don't know, 10 or 12 price increases. And Amber, you do all the price increases for us, right? So we definitely are in touch with when you have a price increase. All right. So the next question is, when you make a decision to make this kind of an investment, how do you and your spouse, or how do you make this decision? And what we want them to do is think about in the past, like when they bought a car, or when they bought a house, if they like to think about it, we want to begin to adjust the way we're going to close, or the way we're going to even present, in the way that they're going to buy, right? If somebody told me they were going to get 10 estimates, well, we normally like to get 10 estimates. Unless you feel like you're a really good salesperson and you can close them that day, I might say, look, typically we like to come back whenever you've gotten some of your estimates in. You're going to have to gauge that on yourself, okay, as to how comfortable you feel with your ability to either waste time or come back whenever you feel like it's a good time to be able to make a good, qualified, and successful presentation that ends with a successful win, right? All right, so what sort of budget do you have in mind for a new system? And I know that when I have a sales class, I have a lot of people that ask me, they say, I just can't ask the customer what their budget is. And my answer usually is, hey, your job is to give them a price, right? And they have to be thinking about it. And I want them to begin thinking about what the price is. And I think that if you have this in here and you can have a conversation about it, then it certainly is easier to do if you're just reading off of a script, right? And then how do you intend to pay? So they're going to say, well, how do you, what options do you have? And you can say cash, check, credit card, debit card, dealer financing, bank financing. And depending on what that previous question was, might determine that they would pay with one of these. Now, I certainly have not gone over all of the things that I go over in a class with how to have the conversation about money, okay? So you probably would have to attend one of my sales classes to kind of get this whole thing, but many times the customer is really not going to know what a budget is, right? They're going to say, I don't really know, or that's why you're here, give me a price. And the technique really is to bracket them into some sort of a cash price or a payment, right? And so typically the answer is the same whenever they say either I don't know or you tell me. Your answer is going to be, we like to offer 4 options in our process. We want our customers to have options. Typically, it's going to be a best model that has all the bells and whistles, and then we're going to have a budget model, and it's going to be like basically you just having comfort. That's it. You don't get anything else. There's no Wi-Fi. There's nothing digital. It's just a basic system. Okay. And between those two, there's 2 in the middle, and those prices are going to be anywhere from, let's say, $200 a month up to about $400 a month. Okay. Now that you know what the price is, are we okay to keep moving forward? And if they say, well, I wanted to pay cash, then you could do that same thing and say, okay, between $6,000 and $22,000. Okay. And my thing is, and I go to contractors all the time and they'll say, Dwayne, listen, my customer never buys the $22,000 system. I don't even want to put that on my proposal. It's a waste of time. Well, the reason why you want to put it on your proposal is in every story, there's a villain and a hero. And in our story of the 4 options, there's actually 2 villains and 2 heroes. Okay. So the first villain is the $22,000 system, so that when there's a $12,000 system or a $13,000 system, $22,000 at the villain level makes that $12,000 system look really good, right? And then because, like I said earlier, I'm not a cheap guy. Like I like to buy in the middle. That $6,000-$7,000 system is the villain to that next level up, so that they're going to buy in the middle. Okay. Now, a couple of things I'm going to tell you. So we track all this stuff. Okay. We had about 1.5 billion with a B in gross merchandise volume through our program in 2021. Okay. I mean, somebody bought something, they indicated how they wanted to pay for it, and they typed their name and they signed their name. Okay. 1.5 billion. Of those numbers, 2% of the customers, 2% of your customers chose cash. 2%. Okay. 27% chose check. Okay. 71% of your customers chose deferred payment, either credit card, retail, or bank financing. 71%. So what I'm telling you is the customer is needing to put the sale price payment off to another day. They can't afford it today 71% of the time. Now, some of them may be using a credit card to get points, and that probably is true maybe the majority of the time. Okay. However, they still are putting the payment off. So my point here is I see a lot of contractors that offer like a cash discount. Okay. And the problem that I have with a cash discount is when someone says, well, what if I pay with cash? And then you give them the ability to pay with cash and give them a discount, they're usually not paying with cash. What they usually are doing is trying to get a discount from you. And then what they're going to do is go to their bank and they're going to ask their bank for a loan. And then when they sit in front of their banker, and maybe they chose that $12,000 system. Okay. And then they get in front of the banker and the banker goes, okay, well, I need to see the contract. So you printed the contract off. They got it right there. It's $12,500. What's the banker going to do if his brother is in AC? My cousin is in AC. Have you ever thought about getting another estimate? See, I've given him the ability to go and get somebody else to tell them that he should use somebody else. And I don't need another my guy, right? Use my guy because he's really good. I want to be the professional. I want to be the selling organization. I want to be able to do it. I want my company to do it for them. I don't want them to have to go to somebody else. And so my suggestion is to try to get away from offering cash discounts. Okay. Try to let it just be the price and know that you have it built into the buy down rate. Okay. Now, that being said, we know that we have, because we capture all this data, about 17% of the time, the customer buys the budget model. About 54% of the time, they buy the best and the better. And then the balance is in the good. So 54% best and better, 17% budget, and then it's like 30-something% in the good. I try not to do public math, but whatever that number is. All right. Now, all the things that we talked about, get up to question number 9. We will have said, they will have talked about something here, right? If you see something that I've missed and we should add here, Caleb, I don't see Wi-Fi here. We need to add Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi capability. You got that?
Yes.
So if you see something here that you talk about with your customer that is not here, let us know, okay? And I'll add it here. But what we want to do is we want to find out, because all these things probably are important, but we want to find out what's most important, because that's what we're going to focus on, right? The good news is the program is going to give them all these options in the best, better, good budget format. We're just going to know up front which one of these are most important, okay? All right. What type of system do you have? So why do you think we're asking that question? We just want to know what they know about the system, right? I want to know how much knowledge they have, because that's going to tell me if someone's already been there. And then what are your utility bills each month? And then what brands have you heard of? And the reason why I want to ask that, it used to be a long time ago, we would ask customers, one of the questions we would ask them was, are you getting other estimates from other companies? What's the problem with that? What's the problem with asking that question? If you ask that question and they weren't thinking about getting other estimates, then they might get other estimates, right? And so what I'd rather do is ask them what brands they've heard of, because people, when they have the knowledge of something, they are going to be proud of the knowledge that they have. And in that pride, if they said, you know, well, I've heard about this new air handler that so-and-so has, and it does this and it does that. And you're like, gosh, man, it really sounds like you know a lot about that unit. How do you know so much? And I'm just reversing them to find out what they know. Because one of the top rules of sales is, you know, seek first to understand and then be understood, right? So that would be that question. And then what additional comments or concerns do you have, or do we want to go over? And then this would be then our transitional to go to the collection of the information for the house. And again, walking around the home, we're going to want to collect all the information. We want to count the registers in the house. We want to count all the information. And then I think you want to basically tell them that they have to be with you during this walk around the house. You want to walk in every room, because we want to be able to look at all the red flags, right? Are we going to have open access to the air handler or the furnace in the hallway? What if you went to a house that was they had a 5-ton system and they had 9 registers in the house, and they were all 9 6x10, right? So 6x10 registers, and there was 9 of them, but they had a 5-ton system. I mean, I'll tell you right away, the ductwork is probably going to need to be either changed, or they might have too big of a system in the house, right? Okay. All right. So here's where we're going to collect our indoor-outdoor breaker size. We're going to capture our square footage of windows. So we got 105 on the north. So let's do like this, 30 on the north, 105 east and west, and 30 on the south. We're going to capture our line size, our door square footage. Caleb, one thing I noticed, the door square footage and the home perimeter should populate in the localc, and it doesn't. So let's get that on the list.
Okay.
All right. And then next step. So here's where you can upload photos and documents. So rather than have to charge you guys an extra $100 or $50 a month for the program, what I suggest you do, there's a bunch of apps that you can get for like $3 or $4 a month that you can put on your iPad where you can take pictures and you can scribble. There was one that I just got the other day that I was looking at. Let me try if I can find it. Where you actually, it's a measuring tool where you can take a picture, and it literally, when you go like this, it will measure between 2 points, and it will measure just by you pulling it across the camera. Okay. So rather than us building that in, all you got to do is put it on your phone, save it as a photo, and then just upload it to the system. Okay. Because what's going to happen is once you do this, all of this information is going to get transferred over into the financial summary when we sell the job. Okay. Now from here, we can do one of two things. So who was it? Josh, you asked about the load calc. So let's go load analyzer. It's going to take us right to the load calc. Okay. It's going to auto-populate the information for the customer, and we click Get Started. Now, it's going to pull in the age of the home from a program we have that we're subscribed with that's stated, and then the square footage of the house from a stated and the number of bedrooms. Okay. You're going to put in the linear length around the house and the windows and doors. Okay. So from here, we're simply going to click, let me get rid of this, hang on. All your pictures are in the way. Next step. So it pulled the windows and doors from the other page. We're going to say it has blinds. We click next step. It totaled the windows from that previous page. And then all I got to do is put in the door. So Caleb, this is where the doors need to populate from that other screen. And then it's going to calculate the windows and the net wall area from the subtraction of the gross wall from the windows and doors. Okay. We're going to pull in our insulation. It's a dark roof, crawl space, carpeted R11. Next step. And then here we go. So Caleb, I want to put right here, the going directly to a template link. You got that?
Yes.
So right above export heating cooling capacity, I wanted to say choose an existing template.
Okay.
Okay, from here, I'm going to click Save and Generate PDF. And then here is my 5-page load calc with the last page being the summary of the information. Okay. How does that look? Anybody? I got a thumbs up from Rhonda. Thumbs up from Neil. Now, one of the things that I don't really like about this that we're going to have to fix, which it really isn't that big of a deal in terms of so if you got to this point and you didn't want to do a load calc, you can click submit, and then that information gets stored to the customer. Okay. So Caleb, it would be nice if we could stay right there on that last page as opposed to going back to the beginning.
Okay. Which part was that on?
on the last page, photos and documents, when you click submit,
Okay.
should keep us right here. But once we're here and you've submitted your photos and documents, we should be able to click create proposal from a template. And it's going to bring us right to the templates. Apologies, my Wi-Fi is really slow. All right, so here we are. And then obviously from this point, all the information is basically the same as was before. Are any questions about that process? Any feedback?
Dwayne, once we have that information, I mean, is that printed out, able to print that out, or how would that look for us once everything's, captured?
Sure. So what's going to happen is when you get the financial summary, it's going to be a link at the bottom that's going to be right here. Okay. So we added that to the financial summary and the one email. When you come back in here and click on that, it's going to have all of that data right here. Now, I'm changing this to where it's going to be a PDF. So it actually will look like it'll look like this, but it'll be saved to the document that was in our phase 2. See if I can find it again. So when you print this, it literally, I printed it somewhere. It literally is, I want to make it where this will be able to go with you to the customer. So Caleb, make sure that we have, I think it's in the task, but we need to add it make it a PDF. And then that PDF link needs to be down here. Okay. And then also, Caleb, I want us to begin putting the load calc at the bottom of the financial summary and the one email.
Okay.
Craig, did I answer your question? Was that sufficient?
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, I mean, tell me if there's something different you want about it.
No, I just wanted to see how, aesthetically it looked. And, if that's something, because whenever we talked the other day, something for also our installers, whenever they're out on the job, whatever what the line set is, what the breaker size is, that kind of stuff. And that's going to help out as well.
Perfect. Well, that was, I remember you asking me that question. And that was what I was telling you we were going on, in the direction of that. The one thing I want to look at here, let's go back to this and let's, on this page right here, I feel like we need so Craig, in the preparation for the guys in the field, what other information do we need to add to this page?
Some of the stuff that I would like to see is going to be maybe what type of flue they have. Is it PVC? Is it metal? Is it B-vent? Sometimes thermostat wire. We're going to have to pull new thermostat wire. Trying to think what else we might have. That's rather than put you on the spot for every little thing you need. Yeah.
At 12 o'clock, you're going to get a survey. It's going to come into your.
Yeah, I'll send it out. Yeah.
You can add it to, and there's a feedback feature link that I've asked you to send. So if you send that to us, that'd be great.
Okay. No, I see a lot of good things here. So.
Okay, good. All right. Anybody else? Is there, Kathy, are there chat questions? You want to read them out to me? If there are any?
It's more about something off topic, not
Okay.
necessarily this section.
Okay, so I want to show you this other feature that kind of something I've been struggling with over the years that we just finally brought forward. The idea is to go live with this next week. And what's going to happen is there's going to be a new link in the admin that's going to be called Add Service Category. Okay, so here's where your service categories are going to be. And if I can get it done. So in your included services, there's going to be like items that have to do with refrigerant lines, items that have to do with gas piping, and you want to, everybody's always wanted to group them together, right? So that when we're in one area, we want all of that stuff to be in that area and then like in the next area. So when you go to your defaults and you look at your company defaults, you'll see this new box here that says, okay, so anything with refrigerant lines is going to be part of this category of refrigerant lines. Okay, so anything with PVC vent is going to have to do with drains. All right, but you can create whatever category you want. Okay, nothing else, everything else is still the same. So the only thing we've added is a service category. Okay, so the problem is that when you do a proposal, and we're going to start with an existing template, and then this is our staging account. So they do a lot of testing in here. Let me just look at something real quick. All right, well, let's just do this. I had prepared a template for this, but
You can't search for it in the search bar.
I had put IS, included services, in there, but I just don't see it.
So I got a quick question. I may have missed it because I was messing around in the chat, but so previously, is there a way to go to, so my guys have this page like we've all had for so long of questions that we ask, and we also take a lot of pictures and we put them in a Google file that everybody shared with. And I know that you can go to the customer and add photos, or on the proposal you can add photos, but on your questionnaire, is there a link that we can add photos or go to the photos that are already been uploaded?
Yeah, so Caleb, we need to research this because I'm not exactly sure where we're storing them. But Josh, in the last step of the questionnaire, you can add photos and documents. So I think you can add 10 photos, 10 documents, or even 10 videos. You can add a video of it. We're storing it on our server. I just don't know where in the program it's being stored. I assume it's being stored in the document of the questionnaire. But Caleb, I think we need to store it. I think we need to make the link available in the proposal and in the customer record, so that no matter where they go, they can find it.
Okay.
Does that work for you, Josh?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. It'd be a lot less quicker than having to go back into the customer and blah, blah, blah.
Yep. Okay, so what we want it to do though, Caleb, is we want that link to be in the financial summary of the job itself. So we look at the financial. We want it to be down here in the link. So these links here should have all of the data from the, so here's one of the documents somebody uploaded. So all that stuff should be down here. Okay. All right, so getting back to the included services. So notice here that I've got it didn't really need to be Gary, just call it a 10-year warranty. So let's say we had a 10-year warranty, but it only applied to my system 1 and system 2, but it didn't apply to system 3 and 4, right? Maybe system 3 and 4 just got a standard warranty. But what would happen is this over here historically it only added cost to the system. It didn't delineate between best, better, good, or budget, right? So what we've done is if you only choose 1 or 2 or even 3, what it's going to do, it's going to print out on the page the services by the category. Okay, so here's how it's going to look. So here's the ultimate system, and it gets the 10-year warranty. Here's the most popular system. It gets the 10-year warranty. Here's the good system. It doesn't get the 10-year warranty. And then here's the I'm on a budget system. And again, it doesn't get the 10-year warranty. Okay. And this obviously is available to everybody. So when it goes live next Tuesday, as always, I recommend at the end of the day on Tuesday or first thing Wednesday morning, you'll want to go in and make sure your everything is up to date. Make sure that your cache is cleared on your computer, on your browsers, and then you're going to have to go in and do this. Maybe next Wednesday at the 11 o'clock hour, I can get on the call and show you guys how this needs to be implemented within your business. You're going to have to go in and create the categories that you want in the system under more. So it'll be down here, add a service category. And then we're going to have to go into your defaults and then assign the categories to each individual line item. Okay. So does that make sense to everybody? Does anybody have any questions on how that works? Any questions?
Dwayne, if we don't assign it, does it default to something or not show up as normal?
It'll say no service category assigned, I believe.
Does it say that on the customer proposal or just in the edit side?
On the edit side.
Okay. So on the customer proposal, would it add it to each category?
Yes.
Okay.
Now at the top, if you don't want this feature and like what you're doing now works for you, up at the top of the proposal, we have a little mark right here. It says group by service category. if you click that box, that's how it groups it by service category. If you don't want it showing like that, just unclick it. It'll be just like it was before. Because out of 1,000 dealers, there's always one dealer that thinks I'm full of hot air, and that whatever I do, he didn't like it, and that sometimes it's needle.
Say what?
Oh, Lauren, where's Lauren at? Lauren thinks that too. All right, what do you guys think? Are we on the right track?
Looks good, Dwayne.
Yeah, it's looking good.
Thanks.
It's looking good.
Okay, so we got 1 minute. I actually have another call at 12. So the only other thing I really wanted to talk about was we do have an integration with Field Edge coming up. I'm excited about it and how it's going to work. So stay tuned for that. It won't be available till the end of the month next month, and we'll be looking for beta testers sometime in April. If you're on Field Edge already, it's just basically an integration where you pop out of an appointment, and it creates a template from a template, and then every time you click save, puts all the data back into Field Edge, and then it integrates completely with their product. So
We'd be interested in beta testing.
perfect. I actually have already told them to give you guys a call. So without further ado, I'm finished. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I appreciate you guys as customers. As always, spending time with y'all is the best thing that we can do, and I enjoy it the absolute most. So and you're going to get a survey. Remember, we only like 5-star reviews. Feel free to give me some feedback. Just be honest about it. If I could have done better, tell me what I could have done better, and I'll try. So, all righty.
All righty.